The Thunder Warriors, also sometimes referred to in ancient records as a Thunder Legion. They were the first 20 legions of genetically engineered, superhuman warriors of Terra, created by the design of the Emperor of Mankind through alchemical augmentation, somatic gene sculpting and muscle grafting. Their purpose was to unite the homeworld of humanity beneath the Emperor's rule during the Unification Wars on Terra in the late 29th and 30th millenniums. They were the first gene-enhanced warriors created by the Emperor and served as the precursors to the current-day Space Marines. One big difference was that the Thunder Warriors were created from adult male supporters of the Emperor rather than adolescents. The Thunder Warriors' legions were commanded by genetically identical warriors of particular skill, intellect and mental stability, who each held the rank of Primarch. Each legion was focused on a particular tactical or strategic specialty similar to the later, more perfected pattern seen among the Astartes. Wrought to be living weapons, the Thunder Warriors were known to be physically stronger, more savage, more resilient and more potent in combat than the later Astartes, though they were not as long-lived and suffered from often dangerous mental instability and early metabolic collapse when their bodies began to reject their augmentations. Imperial chronicles hold that the last of the legendary Thunder Warriors died heroically during the final battle of the Unification Wars that reunified Terra, beneath the single rule of the Emperor and forged the government that would become the Imperium of Man. The truth, however, was far different. For the Thunder Warriors' fate was bound up in the terrible price that the Emperor proved willing to pay to secure a better future for mankind. The heroic version of events was completely false. The Thunder Warriors had not died to a man during the final battle of the Unification Wars. They had been brutally culled from existence by the Emperor's own servants on his orders. The Thunder Warriors had been destroyed by their own creator, a secret skillfully concealed from the people of the Imperium for more than 10,000 years, to carry out his plans for humanity. The Emperor accepted that he would have to take certain actions that were essentially immoral in order to achieve the greater good of mankind. The Emperor needed the people of Terra to unite behind a single, dominant leader in order to begin the future conquest of the galaxy during the Great Crusade he intended to unleash, to create his legend, and unite all of mankind behind his rule as an enlightened and invincible leader. The official records had to reflect that the Emperor had largely won the war and reunified Terra single-handedly. Additionally, the Thunder Warriors were not like the Astartes who would follow them. They had been created solely for war and were not well suited to any other activities. Once peace came to Terra, the Thunder Warriors would inevitably pose a risk to the new state's stability, through their very existence and the flaws in their design due to metabolic collapse among their ranks. The Thunder Warriors had been enhanced as mature adult men and their bodies often rebelled against the genetic changes only a few short Terran decades after the transformation. All this meant that the Thunder Warriors could not be allowed to survive the conflict they had been created to fight. At first the Emperor simply did not replace their numbers as they fell to battle or insanity, but then decided to take more active measures. According to one account, the final culling of the Thunder Warriors took place following the victory of the last Battle of Unity, and was carried out by the Custodes, the only soldiers in the Imperial armies capable of defeating the Thunder Legions. In truth, the Emperor had been right to be worried about his creations. Another source claims that even before the Unification Wars had ended, the Thunder Warriors at last realized that their creator had cursed them with short lifespans as a result of their imperfect genetic augmentations, and turned upon him for what they saw as his betrayal. It was several hundred custodians, even then believed to have been led by the legendary Volda, accompanied by several thousand prototype Space Marine Astartes of the First Legion, that stood in the Emperor's defense, carrying out a merciless culling of the obsolete and rebellious gene soldiers. Though some Thunder Warriors successfully escaped the cull, the vast majority of those who survived the Unification Wars died at the hands of their own allies. The Thunder Warriors were massive super soldiers, greater in height and girth than even most firstborn Space Marines. Despite the physical, mental and metabolic deterioration that was their eventual fate, The few Thunder Warriors that secretly survived the end of the Unification Wars were easily more than a match for an Astartes, and had even outperformed some custodians. Even Thunder Warriors who had suffered from solar decades of physical and metabolic decline were still capable of successfully combating multiple Astartes at once. Unlike the Astartes who replaced them, they were deeply emotional and relished in the power and savagery they felt during combat. Their full human emotions were not altered, lessened or expunged from them as they were in Space Marines and Custodians, and they were known in the Imperial Army and among the Custodes for their often dry humor,